The line from A to Z is rarely a straight line. Lots of twists and turns in just about everybody's story. And that's the same with my guest today, Matthew West. I know you're going to love to hear about his journey. Before we get started, of course, I would love for you to leave a review. Let me know what you think about the show. And make sure you subscribe to 1 Degree of Andy so that you don't miss great episodes like this one.
Thank you all for coming out. Good night.
I'm Andy Chrisman, and I'm the host of the 1 Degree of Andy podcast. In my nearly 40 years on the road touring in Christian music with the group For Him, I've met a lot of amazing people who have some remarkable stories to tell. From CCM artists to legendary producers and industry executives to comedians, actors, and authors. I've got a Rolodex full of names that you'll recognize, men and women who have made us sing, laugh, and cry through the years. And just like you and me, they've had their faith tested along the way. So join me each and every week for stories of hope, significance, and a walk down memory lane. This is the 1 Degree of Andy podcast. Dude, I don't think we sat down and talked
in years.
So I first met you. You may not remember this. Well, you do because you had cuts on my solo record.
I was listening to it on my way to
No
this interview.
way.
Yeah. I was going down memory lane. There's a song called Complete.
That's right.
And I was cranking it in my car, pulling it up on Spotify.
Dude, I'm like, I never wrote in For Him. I was just like, but I'm going to write for this. And Word was talking about signing me. And they were putting me in rooms with like Cindy Morgan and just all these legends, right?
Incredible, right?
Yeah. And then I get in a room with you and Jason Ingram.
Yes.
And
right.
I'm like, you guys were just kind of starting out.
We were both just
what was that, 2003?
That's maybe? Right. Yeah.
2002?
I think I'd only moved to town in 1999. So I was just kind of getting my footing as a songwriter, as a staff songwriter for Word Publishing.
Wow.
And it was a huge deal when they were like, I was like, okay, I'm going to get to write with Andy. This is a big deal. It's funny.
Well, if you'd gone through the catalog, any kind of publishing catalog, you're like, well, I don't see his name anywhere.
No way, not at all. Because I used to go to For Him shows back before I moved to Nashville, and so I legit fan. You know what I mean? So and your voice is so iconic. So I was like, what's funny is I went back and listened to the song we wrote today on the way here, and it kind of has like this Blink 182 vibe.
Wow, that's probably what we were going for.
Like we were kind of rocking it out there a little bit.
I just remember you were just flying with the lyrics. I'm like, I've never been around anybody with that type of songwriting ability.
I go too fast sometimes.
I'm just like, wait, because stuff was just rolling out of your mouth. And I'm like, well, now that's a Matthew West we all know that's just like so quick.
Well, sometimes I can drive people nuts in the room because when I get kind of rolling, there's something about momentum that if I feel like I lose momentum, I stall out. It's almost like an old car that once you get it running and you're afraid to pull off at a gas station, is it going to start again?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that with my writing, don't slow me down. We got to keep this train on the track.
Man. And then we had Jason in the room with us, who had not become the Jason Ingram we know now.
Oh my gosh.
Who's like, everybody sings his songs every weekend.
I mean, incredible songs that he's written for the church and Lauren Daigle and all these different artists. So, and I don't think he and I have written, I think total in the last 20 years, maybe we've written 3 songs together. And one of them was the one we wrote with you.
Well, you actually wrote 2 with me.
2?
Yeah. One of them, so Complete did okay at radio. But I had a number 1 song on Inspo, which was Adore You.
Adore You,
We took Joyful,
yes,
and rewrote that.
Man,
and
that's amazing.
Yeah. So welcome to the 1 Degree of Andy podcast, it's Matthew West.
Thank you. It's been way too long. Yeah, and I'm so glad that we get to reconnect. This is awesome.
And we're here together for the Caleb Fan Awards.
Yeah,
here in the beautiful Porter Wagner.
This suite is pretty cool.
Isn't it amazing?
Have you come to the Fan Awards every year?
No, this is my first time.
First time, okay.
So I've known John Sanders for a long time. Of course, Brothers Keeper, and we go way back with him, and all the K-Love Cruise stuff that he's been involved in. He invited For Him last year because they were doing kind of I don't remember if it was, I remember Wayne Watson was here. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was like a thank you to Pat. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But he was it was kind of last minute. He's like, hey, can we get For Him here to just kind of be represented on stage? And Mark was the only one that was available.
Okay.
I was already booked somewhere else, and the other guys couldn't make it. And so I was just really thrilled to, and you're nominated this year.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
I always forget because I'm hosting.
I always
the awards.
forget.
No. Well, it's like when they have me host,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I think about.
It's got to crowd everything else out.
Yeah, so even the only bummer about hosting the show is like, I'll have a performance slot on the show as well, but I always feel like I forgot that I'm performing because I'm having to like change clothes for this goofy bit. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're on in 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, I have to switch like mentality. Like, oh, I'm actually now I'm an artist.
Yeah.
And I have to sing a song. So I never feel like my performance is very good at the awards because the hosting stuff stresses me out. But it's always a fun, if you haven't experienced the actual awards show, there's incredible performances.
I'm really looking forward to it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, the award shows, I haven't been to an award show. I haven't been nominated for anything since like 96.
Okay.
So to get a nomination for the podcast was like, that feels
amazing.
really weird. It's like I don't know what to think about. It's just, it's pretty cool.
You should feel honored because
I'm very
my
honored.
podcast didn't get nominated. So that's why I'm here today to pick, to kind of pick a fight with you. No,
okay, let's go. I will say though, your podcast really inspired me when I was, because I've been doing a radio show for since we're going on 20 years now. Yeah. So I started a worship show in Tulsa and it got syndicated about 10, 12 years ago. And so that's something I do every week.
That's awesome.
And when I was toying with the idea of doing the podcast, I'd had like Clay Cross on and Wayne Watson and even when Russ Taff had one of his newer records on that had some worship stuff on it, I was like, well, let's have them on
it's incredible.
The worship show. But then it turned into, we were talking about the old days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is something different. This should be
a great
different long form conversation.
Yeah.
So I was researching podcasts of people that I knew and respected. And I came across yours and listened to tons of them.
Oh, man.
And I just loved you just have such an ease of getting into conversations.
Oh, thank you.
And it doesn't feel scripted. It doesn't, because a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Right? Especially people that want to chronicle music from the past or something. I'm not throwing shade at anybody because there's a lot of these
hyper structured kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Like they have a list of questions they're going to ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to feel like I'm having coffee with an old friend.
No, I think those are my favorite podcasts to listen to. And I started mine during the pandemic when, it was just like idle hands, so much time on our hands. And I thought, well, obviously there's still incredible ways to connect with people, even if I'm not on tour.
Yeah.
And we started that show and had a blast. And I started to realize how curious I am as a person. And getting in the room and having conversations that didn't have to be, 3-4 minutes like a radio interview, which probably sounds like that was a neat shift from you.
It really was.
Radio show to be able to then have these more long form conversations.
Yep.
So, and it's funny, all the artists that you just mentioned, like when you'd say their name, a song of theirs, like all of a sudden I hear Watercolored Ponies when you sing Wayne Watson and like all these songs. And when I was thinking about you today, I was going back and I'm listening to like one of my all-time favorite Christian anthems. And I sang it probably 30 times at my church in Chicago, Illinois, where I was growing up, was Where There Is Faith.
Oh, no way.
And I remember looking up and I'd be like, who are the writers on that? Who are the artists? Yeah. Oh, Andy. Oh, he's the high tenor. Oh, that's amazing. And like, I sang that song so many times.
Wow.
And I love that song.
Wow.
So.
I got to tell you, I encourage you and the listeners, go back and listen to the Billy Simon episode. Because Billy's the guy that wrote it.
Oh, I know.
And he came on the show, and I won't give the whole story away, but there's a moment that happened about a year ago where I was leading worship at a church in Travis. Oh my God,
Travis Cottrell?
Gosh, oh my God, he's gonna knock me in the head.
I'm gonna tell him that you don't even know who he is.
I just had such a brain fart there. Yeah, I was leading at Travis's church, and Billy was there and hadn't been to church in a long time because of some stuff he'd gone through. And I started singing Where There's Faith, and he was like, "I feel like that song was written." I wrote that song 40 years ago for me today.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of the most incredible stories. I'm like, this is why I do this podcast, is to get stories like that.
So Billy took me under his wing because I was looking up who the songwriters were of my favorite songs. And then all of a sudden I get signed as a songwriter to Word Publishing. And who's a staff writer at Word at the time? Billy Simon. And I'm like, you wrote Where There Is Faith. And so we would hang out and we'd write songs together. And I learned so much from him.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense now. When I hear your songs, I can see Billy's influence in your in your craft.
The funny part is that I take that as a huge compliment, but Billy was so funny though, because he would like if I was going to play, I would do independent shows and play colleges, and I would have to fly out, and I'd say, can I leave my car with you? Can you drop me off at the airport? And he was so crazy. Like I would come back from a tour and I'd be like, where's my car? And he's like, oh, a buddy of mine needed to borrow it.
No way.
For 3 weeks. Like, so some stranger was driving my car for 3 weeks because Billy just gave him the keys. Who was the stranger? In walks Jimmy Lee Slows.
No way.
He goes, oh, hey, man, thanks. And he hands me the keys. He'd been driving my car for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And Billy's like, yeah, I hope it's okay. And I'm like, well, it's got to be now.
Jimmy Lee, yeah. It's
legendary bass player who now, I'm such a huge fan of him too. But yeah, I mean, so I was always a student of the great writers and artists in Christian music. And I was a preacher's kid. So it was like, I was always in the church office, like listening to the cassettes and like looking at the liner notes and stuff like that. So, so I love that you're like having conversations with all these different artists and figures who've come through.
It's just been super fun for me. I mean, it's cathartic almost.
Yeah.
They say don't meet your heroes, but so many of these guys, they're the reason I'm doing what I'm doing today. And then just to hear where everyone is, post their Christian music career, or in their third act of life.
Just
some really great stories out there. Anyway, I want to get to your story because, you can't tell the story of Christian music now without Matthew West. No, it's true, because you're going to get 20 years from now and we're all going to look back and go, man, Matthew, you were you part of the fabric of where Christian music has been the last 20 years. And so I want to get your story. I want you to talk about growing up in the Chicago area. Let's go all the way back there. When did you know that music was your thing? Like, you're like, I think that's what I want to do with my life.
So, I mean, how integral music is to the church, experience. And when you're the preacher's kid, it's like, I was surrounded by music all the time, and I was called upon at a young age to sing a solo, or, I remember we did the 6th grade Scrooge, church musical, and I played the lead role, and, and it was the part of a disobedient child, which wasn't too much of a stretch for me. Character, I didn't have to do a bunch of a character study, but.
Were you that preacher's kid? Were you
I like to say, I thought one day I'd write a book called, The Preacher's Kid Who Never quite went off the deep end. You just kind of dangled over the edge. But yeah, so like music was always a big part. And to be honest, like music was one of those things where people were encouraging me that I had a gift for music. But growing up in the Midwest, like sports was my passion, my sole focus. And it was, every season was a different sport.
What was your main thing?
I mean, baseball, basketball, football, repeat. And, I was terrible at basketball, but like the other sports, baseball was my main sport.
Yeah.
And so really all the way up through high school, I would do music. I would sing at my church. If somebody was getting married and my dad was doing the ceremonies, I'd get up there and I'd do I Will Be Here by Stephen Curtis Chapman or something like that. If somebody passed away, I'd get up and sing Thank You by Ray Boltz, right? I had those, or Another Time in Another Place. Remember that one? I sang those all the time.
Home Free.
Yeah. Incredible songs.
Yeah.
So I loved music. I gravitated towards music. I devoured music of all kinds, but I was all about playing first base for my high school team and thought I was going to get a college scholarship. And it really wasn't until I found out that the scouts that were coming to my game were there to watch our center fielder. And he got drafted by the White Sox.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't get a scholarship. I didn't get drafted. I didn't get anything. And that's when I started to realize, okay, this was my dream, but it's not God's dream for me. And so I started to, all of a sudden it felt like my ears were opened to what other people had been saying to me for years. And there was actually a music teacher at my high school who said, this comes easy for you and it doesn't come easy for everybody. Like, you could actually get a scholarship. and study music. And I was like, really? And the word scholarship is what really stuck with me, because my grade point average was not going to get me any scholarship.
It gets your parents' attention too.
That's right.
They're like, well, you should go do this.
That's right. So I remember she's like, I can teach you some pieces of music to take to audition for a conservatory. So she taught me the tenor part from Handel's Messiah.
Oh, wow.
And I remember like she was trying to teach me to sing classical music. And then I stood up in front of the professors at this music conservatory, and all of it went out the window, and I sang it like I was in Boys to Men. And the professors were like, you do pop music, don't you? I was like, yeah. But
I had guys from when I was growing up singing in my church. I would have guys come over from Baylor.
Yeah.
And because I grew up in Waco, and they would say, we're gonna take you under our wing. We're gonna teach you how to sing. And they were classical people.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't think so.
Did you? So you never got? Did you study in college?
I did not.
Okay.
I studied math and engineering.
Really?
I had no idea what to do with my gift.
Where did you go to school?
Went to Oklahoma State.
Okay, so how did you wind up landing in For Him then?
Well, that's a long story.
Okay.
And I can tell you, but I mean, I want this to be about you, but I just surrendered. And same thing. What led me to that was you had these people in your life going, recognizing your gift and making a way for you and saying, hey, come over here, do this. Hey, we'll give you a scholarship if you do this. Inviting you into places when other things weren't quite working out, when your baseball career wasn't going to work out.
Right.
Or you didn't have the grades to, go into engineering or science or whatever. Mine was just like, I don't want to do anything but sing, but I don't know where to go. So it's just literally like, okay, God, you take me where you want me to be.
Who was your favorite singer?
Oh, wow.
Like who did you grow up going, like as you knew?
Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins. Okay.
Yeah, that was my guy.
I can hear that.
Oh, thanks.
I really can hear that.
I worked hard trying to sound like him.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. My Mount Rushmore is Kenny Loggins, Roland Orzabal of Tears for Fears.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
And still want to try to get that.
Oh, man. His Diet Coke commercials?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what he's known for. But I saw Michael McDonald at Target one day.
No way.
And get this, he was in the return aisle. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, he's probably has so much money, but he's still returning a pair of khaki shorts.
Yeah, because he wants his $22.95
He wanted the $22.95. Yeah. I was like, now that's what being frugal in the music industry is. So wait, okay. So did you say the fourth member of the Mount Rushmore?
Oh, yeah, Mickey Thomas from a Starship. But yeah, I just said yes. I kept saying yes to things, and I said yes to God. I said, God, I don't know how to do this. So
yeah.
And then Roger Breland called me out of the blue one day.
Truth.
Yep. And that's how I met the other three guys. And
were they all in Truth?
Yeah. So Mark was already there.
Okay.
So it's like 1987. Mark was already there. I came in. Then Marty came in about 3 months after me.
Yep.
And then Kirk came in for like his third tour of duty.
Amazing.
And he was like, 7, 8 years older than all of us.
Veteran.
Yeah, he was a veteran.
I got a call from Roger Breland too one time.
Did you really?
I remember I was in Omaha, Nebraska. I was playing at an all-girls college, which as a young single guy, I was like, this is the dream. I'm going to find my wife. That didn't happen. But the Roger Breland called me. I was staying at my uncle and aunt's house that day. And he's like, I want you to consider joining Truth.
How did he hear about you?
I have no idea.
Well, he was great at that, though.
No idea. Yeah.
He's like the metal detector of Christian artists.
Is that right?
He could find him anywhere. Oh, yeah.
It may have been from like Estes Park or something, because I kind of got my start going to Estes Park, Colorado, which is part of my story as well. Yeah. But for whatever reason, I didn't have a piece about it. And I said, I think I'm just going to continue on my path. And I never wound.
What year would that have been?
That would have been like 99 or 2000.
Okay. So that was when they were winding down, because I think they finished in like 02.
So maybe I made the right decision.
Maybe. Right? Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they would have shut it down right after I joined.
Yeah, that was part of a wise decision.
But, I mean, it really was about people like starting to go, okay, these people have been telling me all along throughout my childhood, and I just wasn't paying attention because I had blinders on, focused on sports. So really the fast track for me was I got a scholarship to study music at a music conservatory and studied to get my bachelor's of music. I struggled mightily because everything at the School of Music was about technical, proficiency and your knowledge of music theory. And that was all like, I was the guy that would sit at the piano and figure it out. You know what I mean? And I would hear, by ear. And so things that came naturally to me, they were trying to have me unlearn those things. And so I wondered if I was going to make it through that school, but I'll tell you what it was. I sat in my dorm room and I had a poster from Walmart called the Chord Finder. I can still picture it in my mind. And it was just, they used to have a poster section.
I remember that.
And I put it up on my dorm room and it showed you where to put your fingers to play all the chords. And man, that combined with all of my music studies, I started writing I learned my first 4 chords, wrote my first song. And then with every new chord I learned, I wrote another song. And songwriting was when I lit up.
Do you remember your first song? You still remember it?
Yeah, it was a 6-minute saga. It was called You, Y-O-U. And it was this kind of like typical what you'd expect to write at a college campus where like you love Jesus, but you also want to impress the girl. So like I'm kind of singing to God, kind of singing to the girl. You know what I mean? And it was a big hit in Central Illinois.
That's funny. Did you use it for parts later on? Like, did you take some of those old songs and go, I'm going to use this over here?
Those songs got the attention of a publisher.
Okay.
And so they were used only in opening the door where they saw some potential in them. I remember too, some of my first songs were, I love Max Lucado.
Yeah.
And so I would like read his books and I always felt like he is such a wordsmith. And so I would like some of my songs, if you look at my earliest songs, you'd see like When God Whispers Your Name, which was the title of a Max Lucado book.
Right,
and
that's right.
It's funny, all these years later, he wrote a Christmas book called Because of Bethlehem. And I called him, I said, has anybody ever written that song? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I'll see you in 48 hours. I showed up at a television special he was doing. I surprised him with a song.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's like, those were kind of my first, and I was playing the fraternity guys at my college. I happened to be on a dorm room floor where I was like the only music major and it was the whole football team. And they started hearing me, outside of my room, hearing me play these kind of like, it sounded like Hootie and the Blowfish, John Mellencamp kind of vibes. And they were like, hey, why don't you come play at, the Teak House? And they would shut the dance floor down and I'd sit in this dingy little beer-soaked basement, nasty fraternity house, and they would shut the whole party down and say, quiet, Maddie's going to sing. They called me Maddie. And I would sing my songs for the college kids. And I was singing about Jesus.
But say, were they all gospel centered?
Yeah, they were like in that sort of lane where, and that's when the light bulb started to go on like, Lord, I could actually write songs that could kind of help people find hope, because all my buddies were just completely like, looking for love in all the wrong places, right?
Yeah.
So those were some of the earliest like aha moments for me. And then from there, I found out early that I had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit. So I would put together like, okay, how much do I need to record my first project? Okay, if I order the CD, like it's going to cost this much to get it made. And then I would send out a letter to my relatives and I told them about an exciting investment opportunity.
I love it.
And I'll never forget, I had my Uncle Charlie sent me a check and he ordered like way more projects than he needed. Yeah. But that number was what I needed to cover my whole first order of like 800 CDs or something.
Wow.
And then I just went to work, started playing shows and just kind of booked myself and
Good for you.
Just went after it for a long time.
And then tell me about Estes, because that's a common story too for so many of the artists that I have on. Is their career somehow either starts at Estes or includes Estes Park, or they meet somebody there that that's gonna be important in their lives later on.
So in the midst of this like classical music driven music conservatory, I stuck out and kind of became a guy on campus that was playing the acoustic shows at the coffee house and stuff. And one day, somebody from the admissions office called me and said, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, sure. And I thought I was in trouble or something. And he's like, hey, there's this thing in Colorado where a lot of like Christian artists get their start. And I had never heard of it. And they started talking about Michael W. Smith and these different people. And he's like, I think you should go. And I was like, well, that's great, but I've got a job lined up with the Park District. I was going to mow lawns for the summer.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, well, there's somebody who wants to remain anonymous, but there's some people who believe that God wants you to go to this, and they've already signed you up and paid
Once
your way.
again, someone says, hey, we want you to go over here and do this.
And to this day, don't know who it was.
Really?
And I've always been a little alarmed when someone wants to give you something.
Sure.
It's like, what are the strings attached? So I called my dad, which is what I've often done when I don't know what to do. And my dad said, and this seems like a door you need to walk through. So before I knew it, I was flying. And I said, the only condition is I'm going to buy my own flight. Because it was like, I don't know why that was important.
Well, you want to be in control a little bit. Yeah.
So I showed up at Estes Park feeling completely unqualified and unprepared. And all of a sudden, the songs I was writing were being critiqued by these industry professionals. And I was in this talent competition. And all of a sudden, by the end of the week, I'm in the finals of this thing. And I'm like, what is going on? And that's how I met my first future songwriting publisher. And that started,
Wow.
So I was a sophomore headed into junior year of college when that all happened.
Did you win the competition?
No, I got like third place or something.
Who won? Do you remember?
Man, I don't know. I blocked it out of my memory. They're dead to me. No, just kidding. I don't remember who. I remember there was a rock band that was super popular that like had really cool hair, and I wasn't like a rock star.
Yeah,
I've never been good at being a rock star.
Yeah, but the publishers though recognized
Chasing Furies.
Oh, yeah.
It was an alt rock band.
I remember that.
They were the talk of the thing. And I was just more like, but but I remember like these professional songwriters took my lyrics and they would hand them back to me. And it was it was like a test that you failed with a bunch of red marks.
Oh, wow. How'd that make you feel?
Well, what I noticed about myself was my wiring is made for this industry because tell me I can't do it. And then watch me go to work.
Oh, wow.
Like I've always I don't know if it's a chip on my shoulder or what, but like failure has always like fired me up.
Well, because this industry it'll crush you if you don't have that attitude.
It has a way of weeding you out.
Yeah, I had a friend. I had my friend Andy Ivey, who was our first A&R director at Benson. We were playing golf the other day, and he said this thing I've always heard. He said, if you think you're good, just go to Nashville.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you how good you really are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to expect that there's a crushing coming.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember Cindy Wilt was my first publisher,
Cindy.
Dear friend of mine. And she, she would listen to my songs. And I'd be sitting next to her and I'd be like, this is a smash. Like, I know this is a hit. And she'd be like, she would act all impatient. And through the first verse, she'd kind of look at her watch and she's like, and I'm like, she's like, are we at the chorus yet? Like, what's this? What's the title of this song? And I'm like, how do you not know the title? But she would, make me feel so. But she had a method though, because it was motivating me to go and get better. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to school, and I would record new songs every week on my little recorder and send them to her. Every week she was going to get new songs from me. And 2 weeks before I graduated from college, I got a publishing deal in the mail.
Wow.
And I thought I was rich. I thought I was good.
Can you tell me how much the advance was?
Oh, $10,000.
Ooh.
$10,000.
Man.
Which meant I still needed to work at Pier 1 Imports. Yeah. When I moved to Nashville, I had to sit in the stock room early in the morning and unpack the wicker furniture and the candles. Yeah. Oh, but 10 grand to write songs?
Yeah, when you haven't had any,
what the heck?
Like at the very beginning.
It's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, so
somebody really believes in you.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. So I was gonna graduate from college and go back to Chicago for the summer and sell peanuts at Wrigley Field with my buddy.
No way.
And I got this publishing deal. I remember I called my parents and called my buddy. I was like, I'm going to Nashville right away, and never looked back.
Incredible. Mowing lawns, selling peanuts at Wrigley Field, writing songs, getting your degree. Dude, you're just you're the prototypical, I'm going to do this. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it.
Again, it was one thing to sing somebody else's song. Like I loved singing Where There Is Faith, and I loved singing all these great songs. And I think I was absorbing songwriting structure by studying all the music that came in through my dad's church office. Yeah. But when I realized that I could use songwriting as a vehicle to like sing something that I had lived, that's when it just lit me up. And to this day, it lights me up. Like I tell my team, like, there's something about like my happiest days, no offense to being here with you today, but like when I'm in a songwriting room, I just feel like it's that one moment where No dream crushers are allowed in the room. Anything's possible. A song can arrive that you didn't think,
I felt that way with you.
I love that
when I wrote with you. I just felt like, wow, this is a totally different experience than any other writing experience or production experience I've ever been in. There was just this joy that came out of you that was very infectious.
Oh man.
And I knew back then, I'm like, you can never predict anybody's future, but I'm like, yes, this dude's going to be,
thank you.
He's got a career in front of him.
Well, I feel just as excited to go write a song now as I did then. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, that's something that has always, it just like, it lights me up and I love it.
So let's talk about your first album deal.
Yeah.
So it's different going from being a songwriter with a publisher.
Yeah.
And actually getting that artist deal. And the most famous story I know is, when we got to Benson and we were hearing tales of Stephen Curtis Chapman.
Yeah.
As a signed writer for Benson Publishing.
Right.
And then when his deal was up, he's asking for an artist deal.
Yes.
And Benson goes, nah.
Holy cow, what a miss.
That's a very typical story. A lot of guys, they cut their teeth in the writer's room and with publishing deals and getting cuts on it. Because we were cutting Stephen Curtis songs.
Yeah.
But then at some point, you want to be an artist. You don't want to just be a songwriter.
Yeah.
So let's go through that stage of how you made that transition.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Stephen Curtis because I was such a student of the whole genre of Christian music that I had noticed the career paths of several artists. And I was like, oh, they started behind the scenes as a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And so Stephen Curtis, Michael W. Smith, some of his early songs, Rich Mullins.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was actually going to move to Nashville and I was confident and brash and thought I'm going to get a record deal easily. And it was so easy that it took over 4 years.
Oh, no
Every
way.
label turned me down.
Wow.
And so I realized that was a tough thing for me to adjust to. But I'll tell you what, when I discovered this career of being an everyday behind the scenes songwriter, like I fell in love with that so much, but the artist side of things never quite left me. I still had that desire. And so I decided I'm going to keep my head down. I got a booking agent. The agency was called, this is like way off Broadway, right? Like Wally's World of Entertainment.
Oh, no way.
Wally,
is that real?
Run by a guy named Wally.
No
and
way.
He booked to college campuses. And so I signed a songwriting contract, wrote songs for other artists.
Yeah.
And then I would go off and book like a 30-city college tour where I'd go play in the student union and just and I would do a college on a Friday night, a church youth group on a Saturday night, and a Sunday morning service. Yeah. And so I continued to have that calling and dream as an artist.
Right. And you're honing you're keeping because you got to learn that stagecraft too.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to keep that going. Artists I have several managers that will contact me and they want me to work with their artists and get them ready before they sign their deal. I'm like, where are they performing?
Oh yeah.
How much are they performing? And if they're not doing it, I'm like, what does it matter? I can teach them everything I know, but if they're not consistently putting it into practice, it's just kind of going into a black hole.
And I'll tell you these days, like, I don't say this arrogantly at all, but like, there's not a stage that could like throw me or catch me off guard. Like nothing, because when you've played at the University of South Dakota at 12 noon and they set you up in the cafeteria right next to the buffet line and nobody's listening to you and the kids are throwing tater tots at you.
No.
Like when you've done that, you like, this is nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that was it was some of the most humbling and humiliating experiences. But even that, like learning stage presence and like, I'll never forget, actually at that show, they were throwing tater tots at me. And, I started making up a song about this kid in a hooded sweatshirt. It was red. And I started making fun of this dude, like in a funny way. And all of his buddies started laughing. They all started paying attention. All of a sudden, I had this crowd rallied around me, making up this song about nothing. And it had nothing to do with the songs that I was passionate about. But the crowd stuck around. And I was like, okay, now I got a captive audience. So you just learned things along the way. But while that was going on, my songs started to get recorded by other artists. Yeah. And I remember Cindy took one of my songs. She had a pitch meeting with these producers that produced some gospel groups, but they were also producing Rascal Flatts.
Oh, wow.
And she snuck in one of my songs at the end of that meeting. The premise of the meeting was, I want to pitch some songs for your gospel band. And at the end, she said, hey, I know you're working on a Rascal Flatts album. There's a song I think you need to hear. And it was a song I wrote. And I wrote it by myself for my wife. It was called The Day Before You. And the producers took it to Rascal Flatts, and Rascal Flatts recorded it, and they put it on the Bless the Broken Road album.
Incredible.
And it changed my life. And it was like,
that paid back that $10,000 advance.
Oh, I mean, it changed everything because all of a sudden, and it was like, it was crazy. Like it hasn't happened that easy since then. But like this song that I wrote, and all of a sudden that album went on. Like that was when albums released. I think it sold like 8 million copies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started to realize like, okay, I can write songs in different genres. Like who knows how the Lord's going to use me. And after 4 years of writing songs for other artists, I had one last audition with some country music people actually. And they said, we don't do Christian music, but we just think there's something that we like about you. And we think we could take you mainstream and maybe break you through the Christian market. And I remember I auditioned for, it was a division of Universal Records.
Yeah, which is always that little carrot out there. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim DuBois and Tony Brown, 2 country music legends. And I auditioned for them at Starstruck Studios, and they signed me to a deal. But the best part of that story is I met my wife that day. She worked at the label.
Oh.
And we just celebrated our 22nd anniversary. So my favorite story is the day I got a wife and a record deal in the same day. And you think about it like, okay, all that rejection for 4 years from the labels. I mean, we look at our lives and it's like, who can deny that God is...
That's right. And you can't predict it.
No.
I think I've said this with almost every artist that's come on this podcast. After over 100 episodes now, I'm seeing a common theme of people who have had longevity in this business is just do the next thing.
Yeah.
Just do the next thing.
Yeah. And don't wait.
Don't wait. Don't turn anything down.
Yes.
I mean, obviously don't get yourself in a compromising position, but don't turn down things that look beneath you.
Yes.
Just do the next thing. Take the next meeting. Take the next phone call.
It's so good.
Because you don't know where God's leading you.
Well, it's funny. It's a great example. Like I just hired a girl because I have like a publishing company now, and I get to champion other young writers. And I met this girl, and she's super talented songwriter, but she's got like great administrative skills, and she's still growing as a writer. And I literally applied the same advice to her. And I said, hey, I think you got a lot of potential as a writer. We have a need in this area right now. What if I allowed you to continue to develop as a writer, but you can stay in the industry, make some money, and help us in this area? And she had the wisdom to go like, yes, I want to do that. And I think through that, you also start to realize, like one of my favorite thoughts that I feel like God showed me years ago, and it's one of the things that led me to do a podcast of my own. And you're proof of this as well, is that like God is not a one-dimensional God, and neither are the things he creates. And so sometimes we are the ones that limit how God's going to use us. And so for me, it's been a whole process of like, oh, okay, I thought I was going to be an artist, but now I'm writing songs behind the scenes. Okay, that's different. But like, what if I would have said no to that? Like, I love that experience. I love celebrating when an artist has a song do well for them. And I love being in a room with you and it's for your record. And I'm like, that's amazing. I love being in that different seat at the table. So I love discovering the different dimensions and not limiting how God might want to use us.
Wow. So what's next for you? Well, okay.
It's over.
All right.
I wanted to announce my retirement on your show today.
Yes. I got an exclusive, everyone.
After all that.
Yes. What does the future look like for you? I mean, like I said, you have a publishing company and you're still recording and you're still touring and like what do you see? I mean, I know we just kind of poo-pooed the idea of like, we don't know what the future holds and just do the next thing. But, we're also smart enough to know how God's gifted us. We have dreams in our hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, the things I'm doing now are not things I would have predicted, but things that I would dream about 10, 15 years ago and go, that would be cool if I could do that one day. Well, and so you take those steps when those opportunities arise.
Well, you mentioned earlier about like people who you've interviewed that are now in their second or third act. And it's funny, like for a long time, I've sometimes almost to a fault, I would be too focused on the second act because I think maybe in the back of my mind, I just have always been hyper aware of the fact that like the shelf life of a recording artist is always to be determined, and usually not to be determined by the artist. It's the powers that be. The radio station is going to decide they're done playing your music at some point. And so, I've been very blessed to make a lot of records, and I feel so fulfilled and thankful for that. And I still have a fire as an artist. But years ago, even back then, I was thinking about the second act. And one of the things that's always been important to me was the idea of championing other artists and writers who are passionate about Christian music, the way people like Cindy championed me. And sometimes when you're a recording artist, it can become so self-focused.
Right.
And just to be honest with you, I had a moment at my friend Cindy's memorial service. She passed away from cancer at 50 years old. And I'll never forget this image. She spent her whole life being a champion of other people. She never got the credit. She was always behind the scenes. So much so that like the pallbearers for her casket were all former inmates at the Tennessee Women's Prison.
Wow.
That nobody knew, but every Sunday night she went to that prison and she led worship and devotions. And when those women got out, they had put their lives together and they had come to pay their respects. And that image, like, I think there's nothing more powerful than thinking about the end of your life before you're there and like beginning with the end in mind. And that moment I got convicted at that memorial going like, Matthew, who have you ever championed other than your own music and your own career and your own aspirations? And you're pushing your own rock to the hill, top of the hill. And so I left that memorial service and literally thought and wrote down like, what does it look like for me to be a champion of others? And so that's turned into a management company and a publishing company where I'm able to like, have an artist come in or a writer come in, and I've got the heart of the artist and the heart of the writer in mind. I want them to have a safe place where they can be trusted, where they can trust who's working with them. I've had situations in my career where I'm like, I don't know if I trust that person I'm working with. And I want to be able to provide, just like I do for my kids. Like, I feel like these artists and writers I get to work with are like, I can help set them up the way that I wished somebody would have helped me back then. So championing others is a big part of it. We get to manage, my management company manages an artist named Ann Wilson, who is, kind of in this country Christian lane, and, watching this 23-year-old kid just like go on to like, she's opening for Morgan Wallen this summer. Wow. And it's like, holy cow. Wow. And she's up there singing about Jesus. Yeah. And so I get excited about that. And, when I think about the second act, it's like the Lord's decided that I'm still somewhat in my first act, even though the second act is active. And I'm just kind of walking parallel paths and loving being creative most of all, writing songs as much as I set a goal this year. And this is like my 20th year being assigned to art. I think I signed a deal in 2004, so 21 years.
Wow.
And my goal this year was 100 songs. I need to write 100 songs this year. And I don't need to write 100 songs, but I need to. You know what I mean? Like, so those are some of the things that I think about on a daily basis, just staying creative in business and in my own music.
I love that. One of my philosophies in life is, I'm probably, so I'm 59. I don't know how old you are, but
47.
So I'm a little...
No, I'm 48.
Did you just turn 48?
Oh my gosh.
When was your birthday?
Like 3 weeks ago.
Oh man.
I totally forgot.
Mine was last week. So happy birthday, friend.
Happy birthday to you, man.
Well, one of the things that as I get older, one of my philosophies is I want to get to heaven empty.
I love that.
I don't want to keep all this information that I know can be useful to other people. I don't want anyone that's following behind me to have to start from scratch.
Yes.
To start on the bottom floor. You should be standing on my shoulders. Somebody should be standing on your shoulders. We don't want all of our history and all of our knowledge and all the things God has taught us to just be for us.
And all the things we've screwed up.
Exactly.
Like, don't you feel like sometimes, it's funny, the way the management company started, I'm in the room writing with an artist for their record, and they start asking me business questions or, well, what would you do in this situation? Yeah. Or I kind of got this message from this person. What would you? And we start talking, and I started to realize, I think I've become an accidental expert in some things.
I think we all have.
And I mean accidental because I've messed up so many times. And that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, and you're still here.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I do this with worship pastors. I coach a lot of worship pastors across the country. And, one of the things I tell them, I said, I think one of the reasons you want me to be around you is I've made all the mistakes there are to make.
100%.
So I think that's better than having all the answers.
That's gold.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know where every situation is going to lead, but I can tell you what, don't do this.
That's so
and don't
good.
do that. And don't do this because this is where these lead to. And sometimes that's a lot more valuable than saying, well, here are your best practices. I mean, you got to do that too. But experience and those failures and getting back up again and learning from all that, I think that's the most valuable thing we can pass on to the next generation.
Who would have thought failure would be such a gift? And yet at the same time, it's like, oh, this is what God does.
That's right.
Like he works all things he redeems. Like he is who he says he is.
Mm-hmm.
And it works that way in our own lives. And so it's funny to kind of go, I'm like, oh, I was like, looked around, like, why are they asking me? Oh, like, thank you, Lord, for all the times I've messed up and the way that you've taught me valuable lessons through that, So, and I have. I mean, it's crazy. I think about just, business decisions or just all these different things throughout my career where it's like, if I could go back, I would do that differently. But man, the lesson learned through that and then how it equips me, and then the other thing I would say is like you were talking about, like other people standing on your shoulders. Something about like Nashville is like, people are always afraid to like, be excited about something. Like I think it's almost like you kind of like I remember sitting with A&R guys.
Like it's a jinx.
Yeah, like they always want to make you feel like, you could do better or what. Like, and I would play songs for an A&R guy or something and just be checking for a pulse and like and then I would have somebody that wasn't afraid to get excited, and that was a game changer for me when somebody was like, "Hey, like I'm not afraid to call this good and encourage you." And so like I've had it happen just where even artists I don't work with, like I heard an independent artist's music and I just was like, this is awesome. And I was like, can you get me in touch with them? And I just called and FaceTimed this kid and I was like, hey, you don't know me, but like what you're doing is so good. Which
is huge for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it turns out the guy like did listen to my music and he was needing a sign in that moment to keep going. And it's like, so I want to not be afraid to get excited when I hear somebody else's music that maybe could use a champion or just a word of encouragement too.
I just love that conversation with my friend Matthew West. He's always fun to sit down with and so many great stories. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure to leave a review. Let me know what you think about the podcast and make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode of 1 Degree of Andy.
Access more